Argentina's economy, which is one of the most powerful in the region, is dependent on services and manufacturing. Although agribusiness and ranching dominated the economy for much of the 19th and 20th centuries, Argentina still produces more grain than any other country in Latin America, and is second in cattle raising only to Brazil, and its receipts from tourism are second in the region only to those of Mexico. Its gross national product, GNP per capita, and value added for manufacturing are also among the highest in the region. However, the country has withstood several economic downturns, including periods of high inflation and unemployment during the late 20th century and a major financial crisis in the early 21st century. More than 3/5 of the Argentine GDP and a comparable portion of the labor force is based on services, including retail trade, hotels, restaurants, trucking and other transportation, government, education, healthcare, and various other business and social services. Retail and wholesale commerce alone account for about 1/7 of GDP, and business services account for a slightly lesser portion. Growth is weakening. Output contracted in the last quarter of 2022, mainly driven by a decline in investment and private consumption. Short-term indicators point to a further contraction during the first half of 2023, as agricultural production is affected by a severe drought. Unemployment has returned to pre-pandemic levels, reaching 6.3% in the fourth quarter of 2022, although informality has increased sharply, approaching 40% of the labor force. Consumer confidence has declined. Headline inflation rose to 108.8% in the year to April, the highest level in over 30 years, amid a widening gap between the managed official and the parallel exchange rates. With no formal anchor for inflation expectations, inflation is broad-based and core inflation is at 105%. The World Bank's latest global forecast predicts that Argentina's economy will return to growth in 2024 while sounding the alarm about the potential impact of ongoing economic and political uncertainty. According to the institution, which highlighted the impact of last year's heavy drought, Argentina's GDP likely contracted by 2.5% in 2023. The World Bank forecasts that the economy would return to a growth of 2.7% in 2024 and 3.2% in 2025. The institution expects Argentina's economy to improve despite the absence of signs of easing in inflation, it said in its Global Economic Prospects report. The forecast reflects a recovery from the drought of 2023, which caused a decline in the country's main commodity exports, corn and soybeans, worth almost 3% of GDP, said the report's authors. Argentina's GDP, $641 billion, nominal, 2023, $1.3 trillion, PPP, 2023. GDP ranked 23rd, nominal, 2023, 30th, PPP, 2023. GDP growth, 5.2%, 2022, 0.2%, 2023, 2%, 2024. GDP per capita, $13,700, nominal, 2023, $27,300, PPP, 2023. Analyzing Argentina's current outlook, the World Bank warned of significant economic and political uncertainty amid high inflation and a pronounced currency depreciation, which continues to erode consumer confidence. It highlighted the relentless rise of prices and warned that there is also little room for fiscal spending to support activity as the government seeks to address pressing issues of fiscal sustainability. Zooming out, the World Bank said that the global economy is on track for a woeful decade of growth unless policymakers can boost investment and strengthen government balance sheets. Global growth is set to slow from an estimated 2.6% in 2023 to 2.4% this year, the World Bank said in its report. If the forecast proves accurate, 2024 would mark the third consecutive year of the worldwide economic deceleration and the slowest half-decade of GDP growth for 30 years. Inflation in Argentina has hit 161%. Its economy is shrinking, in part because of a ruinous drought. In the past 5 years, its currency has lost about 90% of its value against the US dollar. Its debts, including $45 billion that it owes the International Monetary Fund, are suffocating. 1 in 4 Argentinians lives in poverty. The painful economic steps that Argentina's new president, Javier Milei, announced last year in December of 2023, slashing the currency's value in half, reducing aid to provincial governments, suspending public works, cutting subsidies for gas and electricity, raising some taxes, Resources and power. Argentine industry is well served by the country's abundance of energy resources. By the late 20th century, the country was self-sufficient in fossil fuels and hydroelectric generation, and it had become a petroleum exporter. Oil deposits are concentrated mainly in the northwest and in Patagonia. The basin around the Patagonian port of Comodoro Rivadavia is estimated to hold some 2/3 of the country's onshore reserves. Other deposits are located in Jujuy and Salta provinces, in Mendoza and Neuquén provinces, and at the tip of Patagonia and Tierra del Fuego. The main natural gas fields are also in the northwest, near Campo Duran, Salta province and Mendoza, and in Patagonia near Neuquén and Comodoro Rivadavia. Before the development of these fields in the 1980s, Argentina had imported gas from Bolivia. Coal deposits are found in southern Patagonia. Until 2000, some coal was mined there, but that activity has ceased. Argentina's needs are met by imports. Argentina's currency declined by about 50% in 2018 to more than 38 Argentine pesos per US dollar. As of that year, it is under a standby program from the International Monetary Fund. In 2019, the currency fell further by 25%. In 2020, it fell by 90%. In 2021, 68%, and a further 52% in 2022, until July 20. Argentina is considered an emerging market by the FTSE Global Equity Index 2018 and one of the G20 major economies. In 2021, MSCI reclassified Argentina as a standalone market due to prolonged severe capital controls. Except for oil and natural gas, exploitable mineral reserves are generally small and widely scattered. Deposits of iron ore, uranium, lead, zinc, silver, copper, manganese, and tungsten are worked. A wide range of non-metallic minerals is found throughout the country. Salt deposits are located on the western and southwestern edges of the pampas, and materials such as clay, limestone, granite, and marble supply the construction industries. A significant amount of electrical power in Argentina is generated through hydroelectric stations, the total capacity of which has increased exponentially since the early 1970s. The huge Yacyretá Dam on the lower Paraná River, brought online in 1994-98, gave the nation a surplus of generating capacity. Argentina, with several nuclear plants, is one of Latin America's main producers of nuclear power. The fishing industry is comparatively small, owing in part to the overwhelming preference among Argentines for beef in their diet. Most coastal and deep-sea fishing is done in the Buenos Aires area, from the Rio de la Plata to the Gulf of San Matias. The major ports are Mar del Plata and Bahia Blanca. Hake, squid, and shrimp make up a large part of the catch, about 3/4 of which is frozen or processed into oil and fish meal for export. Argentina generally has had a favorable balance of trade, although it has occasionally experienced years with trade deficits since the Mercosur Pact was enacted. The country's major exports are still agricultural products, notably grain. Also important are petroleum, machinery and transport equipment, and chemicals. About half of its imports by value are machinery and transport equipment. Chemical products and consumer goods are significant as well. Key understandings. The new Argentinian president, Javier Milei of the far-right La Libertad Avanza, LLA, will pursue shock fiscal consolidation measures and wide-ranging, market-friendly reforms early in his term. The government will also gradually lift most currency and trade controls. A maxi devaluation cuts to subsidies, and an end to price controls will cause inflation to spike in 2024. These measures will also weigh on private consumption and investment, and will trigger an economic contraction. Argentina will post a current account surplus. Weak domestic demand will weigh on imports and exports will rise firmly amid growing oil and gas production and stronger mining output. We expect a robust economic recovery in 2025, partly because a more supportive business environment will encourage investment. Mr. Milei's more radical plans, such as dollarization and the closure of the central bank, are unlikely to materialize. LA's minority position in Congress means that governability will be weak. So Argentina has a good future coming by with the hard work at hand of everyone in the country. Can Argentina's new policy and new reforms pull their economy to a stable one in the coming years? So what do you think? How did we do? If we missed something, please say in the comments. And if you like this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.